on this entire thing. This was always a weak ass lawsuit from the get go. I like Drake. This was a weak lawsuit. It's a weak lawsuit in the fact that, again, if you listen to diss music, I listen. I don't like that there was a false allegation put against my guy. It was false, but such is the case with hip hop. People call people R words. People say really nasty things about each other. So the idea of suing the publisher, and I kind of look at it like in a media sense, you're suing the publisher, which, at first he was going at DSP's radio and UMG. They would be the publishers of said material. I thought he should have sued Kendrick Lamar. Now, what do I think about the decision? I think this was going to be a landmark precedent case. And I'll give you an example. I just went to federal court, and Meg Thee Stallion and them, they got me in federal court. And during my deposition, they asked me a question. They said, yo, how'd you get this DNA report that you tweeted? My exact answer was, I wouldn't tell y'all even if I knew. Then I said, I don't recall. In the hearing that I went before the judge, shout out to my man Brendan Day, the Honorable Judge Brendan Day, he pointed out that while making his ruling on the order, which if you don't know his ruling is that I'm going to sit for another short deposition, but they can't ask about Drake's stake and Nicki and all the stuff. They got to keep it to this one particular subject or follow-up questions regarding it. But I'll tell you why I told you that. I told you that because this becomes landmark situations. In the motion with me, the judge made it very clear. He actually went on like a 5-minute soliloquy saying, hey, Mr. Allen, what we have here in New Jersey is called a shield law that protects journalists and media companies. He says, hey, listen, I'm not making a decision that will be that any other future cases should look back at this case to see how I treated either you as a media company or newer media people that might be streamers. There's a lot of precedents. That's how court works. If one judge says this behavior results in this, usually most other judges, when queried with a similar decision, they'll make the same or the similar choice. Okay? So that's important. Now, it works opposite for Drake. Because if Drake motion, it could have still went to trial, but what this motion definitely said is that it's not going to protect people in a rap battle from getting your feelings hurt. And had they said there was merit to this case, I would imagine that we would see much more lawsuits fly off. Because, you call me fat in a diss song. You said this about my relative, or you said that about whatever that caused me emotional damage. I need some money. And from what we could see is that the judge in this Drake situation is categorically denying and will not make what he doesn't want to start a precedence that anybody who gets dissed. Now, I got to keep referencing Drake fans because they always lose me when I'm speaking to them with this one point, because they're always saying, nah, man, it ain't the same. That ain't the same as somebody calling you a PDF. Well, under the eyes of the law, somebody calling you fat or a PDF, while they might have different weights and values in how it could be, how both of these, insults or whatever could probably proportionately affect your career or your business. On face value, it's disrespect, right? So the point is, If they allowed or they said Drake's legal battle is all the way fine, and this even goes to a trial, we don't even know what might happen there. What ends up happening is everybody's going to get sued because you have now opened Pandora's box. So I believe the judge didn't want to open Pandora's box and basically said to Drake, yo, this was this person's opinion more than it was a representation of the facts. So because of that, defamation, which requires a bunch of things, not only it requires malice, it requires malice. You got to be able to prove the damages that this defamation has caused. And with all of those things, you could get a favorable look in a defamation case, right? But this judge stopped at this first checkpoint here and said, yo, this is opinion. Now, I disagree with it. I don't believe some of these things are only just kicked as not necessarily, this is my opinion and whatever. I think Kendrick kind of puts a little bit more muster in it to kind of make it look like, bro, this guy did some shit. I'm going to be honest with you. The judge didn't agree, though.